Coming into the Riftbreaker, I honestly wasn't expecting anything spectacular, because this game is advertised as a tower defense survival game with action RPG elements, and each one of those genres alone is already a pretty massive undertaking, especially for an indie studio, so throwing them all together under one game seemed like a fool's errand. Thankfully, however, the Riftbreaker absolutely exceeded my expectations, not only as a whole package, but even when dissected into its individual parts, it's able to give games like Diablo and Dungeon Defenders a run for their money. Upon starting the game, you'll be greeted with several different game modes, each offering you a drastically different experience. First up is the prologue, and simply put, this is just a short tutorial used to teach you the basics of the game and set up the story. Next up is survival mode, in which you survive for 90 minutes against waves of progressively more difficult enemies. And last but not least, we have the campaign, and this is pretty much the star of the show, the cream of the crop, if you will. The campaign tasks you with establishing dominance over planet Galatea in order to construct a rift portal back to Earth. There isn't an in-depth story for you to uncover in this game, outside of the occasional conversation between Ashley and Riggs, who are the main characters, and for the most part, the campaign honestly just plays like an extended tutorial. The game in general is extremely freeform, especially in survival, but throughout your whole campaign playthrough, you'll basically just be following a guide, telling you what to research, what materials to gather, what to build, etc. Thankfully though, they do this in a way that doesn't feel obnoxious, because for the most part, they're really just giving you suggestions. Some buildings, like the laboratory for example, are absolutely mandatory, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to research anything in order to progress in the game. Whereas structures like the armory, which produce ammunition and allow you to create new items, aren't mandatory, as you don't technically need weapons or ammo to beat the game, but they'll still advise you to build one. As I stated earlier, Riftbreaker presents itself as a game of several different genres: survival, ARPG, and tower defense. But at its core, Riftbreaker is mostly a tower defense game. You'll first pick from one of several difficulties, even having the option to create your own custom difficulty, and the ability to play on hardcore or use mods if you're looking for a little bit more spice. Once you've started your campaign or survival mode run, you'll be immediately thrust into the action with a procedurally generated world and tasked with building and defending a headquarters, gathering materials, and expanding your empire across several different sectors of the planet with functioning outposts. In the base game alone, you'll be exploring tropical jungles, radioactive deserts, acidic plains, and volcanic mountains, each with their own unique type of enemies and materials. You'll eventually need every single type of material in order to complete the game, so you have to go out and explore all of these zones, and potentially even set up several outposts in order to gather uranium, tanzanite, etc. Unfortunately for you, however, the disgusting xenofilth that inhabits this planet will not simply just allow you to colonize their world without a fight, leading to large-scale attacks that become more difficult as your game progresses. They start off pretty tame, initially sending just a handful of their weaker units to act as fodder, and progressively get more and more aggressive, eventually bringing in artillery and tank units to blast your defenses from afar while simultaneously holding a sturdy front line. Of course, you'll need to defend your precious mineral deposits from these hordes, and this game has a ton of different ways for you to do that. In terms of towers alone, you get several different options, such as sentinel towers, which are a pretty basic tower that just shoot high-speed energy projectiles, as well as artillery towers that blast enemies from a long distance with explosive shells, acid spitter towers, attack drone towers, shotgun towers, and so many more. If sitting back and watching the action unfold isn't your cup of tea, however, Riftbreaker allows you to join the fray with dozens of unique weapons, mech suit abilities, and weapon mods that you can mix and match to create your ideal battle mech. For your weapons, you can equip chainsaws, miniguns, explosive fireball launchers, sniper rifles, etc., and you get access to abilities like artillery strikes and literal black hole mines. If you enjoy what you're seeing so far, consider hitting that like and subscribe. It really helps the channel, and it's not like you have anything to lose besides your virginity anyway. As the saying goes, money doesn't grow on trees, but in this case, ammo doesn't grow on mechs, which is where the survival element of this game enters the picture, because you need to produce every single bullet that your guns and towers shoot. As a matter of fact, I would even go as far as to say that this game goes beyond your typical survival experiences like Minecraft, No Man's Sky, and Rust, and leans more in favor of factory building games such as Satisfactory and Factorio. You'll learn pretty quickly that manually mining every single ore deposit is not going to be very ideal for constructing bases. In order to maximize your efficiency, you'll need to learn how to set up mining outposts, as well as gas and biomass generators, for example, for more efficient energy production. This is because your success in Riftbreaker largely comes down to three main components: energy, carbonium, and ironium. These three things are required for practically every single structure in the game, and without even just one of them, bad things will happen to you very quickly. But if all you ever use are solar panels and wind turbines, you'll more likely than not run short on energy at some point in time, because their outputs vary depending on weather conditions. Fog, for example, can reduce solar panel output to 0%, and wind can even just stop completely, leaving your turbines to the same fate. Once you've got some materials set aside and your first power plant is up and running, you can finally get into base building, and this is where the game really shines in my opinion. There isn't much variety when it comes to building, as it's pretty much just walls, floors, and defensive and support towers. But the beauty of Riftbreaker, compared to most other tower defense games, is that you aren't restricted to where you can build your base. You can literally build anywhere on the map that has solid ground, leading to some really interesting playstyles. You can choose to hunker down and defend one small settlement with everything you need, or expand your empire across the map and build a colossal base. I personally went somewhere in between for my campaign and built two main bases. A smaller one for my HQ, and a larger one for my support structures like my material storage containers and AI hubs. I also set up several outposts on the outskirts of the map that act as a first line of defense to slow down enemies before they can get to my more important bases. Overall, it's a really enjoyable system that encourages you to delve deeper into the more strategic tower defense aspect of the game if you so desire. My only complaint is that once you place your HQ, there is literally no way to move it. And this just kinda bothers me, because they really pester you to build a base at the start of your playthrough, and they frame it in a way that seems like it's gonna be a temporary solution. But nope. As a matter of fact, your HQ is very permanent, and is also the most important building in the entire campaign, even more so than the Rift Station, so just be cautious when you place it down. In order to create all these fancy gadgets and towers I've been discussing for the last couple minutes, you first need to research them. And to do this, you just need to acquire a communication hub. I'll admit that it looks very overwhelming at first, but thankfully, it really is just as simple as clicking the research button on whatever it is you want to research, and you can just walk away and do whatever the hell you want while the timer counts down. Overall, the Riftbreaker is a really unique game that masterfully incorporates several different genres under one roof. Although admittedly, the game does have a pretty obvious bias towards the tower defense aspect. Building is incredible, combat is fun and diverse, and the game feels engaging and rewarding to play. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.